Folks, we have Scott Sedita in today. Sedita, right?
Sedita.
Sedita.
Yeah.
See, I haven't done your exercises yet, okay? And we'll get to that. I'm going to let Scott introduce himself. I've known Scott for a while. He's been in the business a long time. I think he's done everything from agent, manager, casting director,
Yes.
acting teacher, and now we've settled on acting teacher,
Yes.
right? You're a coach.
Yes, my studio's been open for 15 and a half years.
Okay, a little history.
Okay,
You
so a
started
little
in
history.
New York.
I started in New York. I went to Boston University as an actor, and in the middle of Boston U, I decided
Oh,
to
you
change.
started want to be an actor?
Yeah, when I was a kid, I did a lot of acting. And I went to Boston U, and it's really in the middle of my second year at BU acting program that I thought to myself, it's not for me, it's not what I want to do. I wanted to direct, I wanted to get in there with the actors, and so I went across the way and I studied film directing. The thing though that's kind of interesting is that they didn't really work with actors very much at film school, they were just interested in the shots.
That's right.
Okay.
I went to film school in 1980.
Okay, so
we never worked with an actor.
So then you'll appreciate what I'm about to say. But because I came from the acting school across the street, which was the theater school, and
Yeah.
that had nothing to do with film, I bridged the gap because I had all my actor friends, and I wanted to work with actors in film. So I brought them over and I started to work with them. What's interesting is that Jason Alexander, who was Jay Greenspan at the time, was in some of the films
He
that
was
I
in
did.
BU, right?
Yes, he was BU.
Yeah.
He was a great actor. He's a great guy. And also a young lady by the name of Julie Smith did 8 of my films. I thought that this particular person
These were all
was
student films.
Yes, all student films.
You
And
directed them.
Yes.
Did you write them?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. I was young.
But 8 movies, when I was in film school, making a movie was tough, man. It was 16 millimeter. There was a huge cost involved in
Right.
doing it. And then we never had money left for post production.
Absolutely.
So
But
you
I was just interested in the scene and the work, so I wrote it. And as I was saying, one of the girls that I would work with was named Julie Smith. And she did 8 of my films. Well, Julie Smith grew up and became Julianne Moore.
Wow.
And it's funny because I saw her recently at something. I said, I have all our old films in my
She
garage.
said, burn them.
She kind of looked at me like, what are you going to do with them? I said, don't worry, I'm not selling them to TMZ or putting them on YouTube. I did transfer them to the DVD,
Native digital.
so I could actually see them. But it was really cool. She was a beautiful, beautiful girl and a wonderful actress. So I left, after I left film school, I was the guy who had a job in Hollywood because I had made those
How
connections.
did you get a job in Hollywood? You're making films.
I'll
with these
tell you
folks.
because I wanted to be in LA, so I went out to LA and I met people and I said I'm a film student, and so I got a job as a production assistant after I graduated from Boston U. I was going to fly out to LA, live with my cousin, and I was going to be a production assistant. That's how I was going to begin my career. The problem was the writers and directors strike hit.
What year is this?
This is like 1981.
Okay.
So the writers and directors strike hit. So I had to stay home in New York and live with my mother in a 1-bedroom apartment. I couldn't wait to get out, but I had no money, no job, no nothing. But I ended up getting a job at an agency. You were being an assistant agent.
At a talent agency.
A talent
in New
agency,
York.
very reputable and called Writers and Artists, no longer. And what happened in that 6 months was that I just fell in love with the idea of being able to go out and find an actor and then bring them into the office and help groom them. And I really enjoyed that. So I ended up becoming an agent, and I started.
Do agents still do that?
Well, I was an assistant agent, so I just knew. I don't know if agents still do that. Yeah, they still go to showcases. Yeah, they do that. I was hungry. I was 21 years old.
Yeah.
I was the.
And LA was on strike.
By the time I became a full-fledged agent at 22, I was the youngest agent in New York City.
So by 22, you were a full-fledged agent.
Yes.
So you're representing people now.
Courtney Cox, I found. Matt LeBlanc, Christopher Maloney, Dylan Walsh, Vince D'Onofrio.
When you say found, how do you find this talent? Do they come to you?
Well,
Do
some
you
of them
do
came to
showcases?
me. Some of them I saw them in showcases. So, but more than just found, I helped them start their careers.
And this
And I got
helps
them their
a
first
lot of
TV
our-
show
Yeah,
and
a lot of
then
our
on.
audience is aspiring actors and
Mhm.
all that. What did you see in a person that you then said, I want to represent you? What were you looking for in an actor?
Well, they had a sense of self. They understood instinctually, even though they were younger, who they were, what they had to offer. They studied acting, and I just saw in them the possibility. I'm a big TV and film watcher. I grew up, so I think I have a talent to spot talent. I don't know what that's done for me in my life.
No, it's done pretty well.
Well, as an agent, but I don't know. But I do. I see it and I feel it and I get it. Because I believe actually talent is something that you're born with. So you first have to have the talent
You
to
can
act.
hone it and
Yes.
practice it, but you have to have the raw material.
I believe you have to be born
Okay.
with it.
So now, how many years are you an agent in New York?
About 8 or 9.
8 or 9 years. Now you're 30 years old. What brings you to Los Angeles?
I decided the top of my career as an agent, making more money than a 29-year-old should, and I gave it all up because I wanted to write sitcoms.
You want to write sitcoms. Did you enjoy being an agent?
I did. I liked it. Matter of fact, I used to say that ICM, after someone got their first TV show or movie, they usually left to go with the big guns like CAA
Yeah,
and
sure,
ICM.
sure.
That happened all the time. I would always have those luncheons with them, and they would say,
I'm firing you. I got to go across the street.
I love you, but ICM is in there going
We're breaking up over here.
Exactly. I had a lot of those. But what are you going to do, And so by the time I left, though, ICM called me because they had a lot of my people at the time and said, hey, listen, I hear you're moving to LA. Forget about this writing idea. Why don't you come over here and we'll open a young adult division. I'll take everybody and I'll give you lots of money to do it. And I was like, no, I have this thing that I want to write. I want to be part of it.
You were successful as an agent. You had opportunity as an agent, but you still wanted to write and give all that up.
Yeah, I think it's important to be able to be creative, and I couldn't be that way
As an agent anymore. Okay.
Yeah.
So now you come to Los Angeles, and like a lot of people, you decide you're going to be a writer.
Yeah, I got lucky because I was prepared. I had my spec scripts, so I had an agent right away, and I started to go out in meetings. But you know what? The thing for me with writing was it just didn't happen quick enough. And I believe that the 3 steps to success are talent, confidence, and perseverance. I had the talent, I had the confidence when it came to writing. I just didn't have the perseverance. I did not like staying home and doing nothing or writing. I wanted to do something.
Yeah.
I wanted to get out there. And what I ended up doing as a survival job is working for Danny Goldman, a great man. He was a casting director in the 80s and 90s. I mean, big-time casting director, and a great, great man. And he gave me a job. And
what kind of job? What were you doing?
Well, I was an assistant in casting, but I was also a session caster. It's really where the session caster came in, where I started to feel the.
What's a session caster?
Those guys that you come in and you go, hi, how are you? Okay, stand on the line, and you work with them on their material or their commercial, or you just slate them. It's those guys. And the funny thing about when I worked at Danny Goldman is that I knew a lot of the people that they were pitching because they started in New York with me. So I would go, but I don't know if that person's really right. Well, what do you know?
How would you know? Yeah. So you've given up the writing field.
Yeah, I finally gave it up. I finally gave it up because I started to. Danny was so kind to me. He let me teach, and I started to teach commercials. And the reason I did that is because commercials started to change in the 90s. They started to be less big and heightened and more real, film-like.
Okay.
It's because of the emergence of the film directors. A lot of the film directors started, and also music video directors.
That's right.
So they wanted more film-like. So actors who were around in the 90s know that they went for a commercial audition, that when they got there, it was like, don't act, be real.
Yeah.
So I started to teach that, and that became very popular.
Okay, now while you're a casting director, and we'll get to your teaching, because that's where you settled eventually.
Yeah.
Never wanted to be an actor again?
No, actually I was put in front of the camera a couple of times, but...
Because you had opportunities, knowing casting directors, knowing agents, knowing managers, being a writer.
I booked some stuff, but I wasn't...
Not in love with it, no.
No.
So you start teaching...
It's a hard life. And I need to be busy.
Yeah.
I'm someone who needs to be busy doing. That's why I have like a million jobs right now. I'm writing, I'm coaching, I'm managing an office.
Okay,
teaching.
so now you're coaching for commercials.
Yes.
Telling actors
I'm
how to
teaching
do an
a class,
audition, teaching a class, mainly on audition techniques for commercials?
Yeah. In this new kind of way to make things smaller, simpler, and realer.
Okay. And now we morph into you becoming an acting coach.
Well, what's interesting, by the way, just so you know, as an agent, I helped groom and send them out.
Yes.
Then the casting director would call, and I coached a lot of them too when I was an agent. And the reason I did that is simply because I wanted to know how they were going to do on the role. So when the casting director called, I could cover my ass and
it's
say,
your person,
yes,
it's your baby.
okay, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So they might be a little green, but they have a great look, or
Yeah.
they don't have a great essence about them. Yeah, they do. So I was always cushioning them. So I always knew, and plus I was able to coach because I was an actor and director, so I understood that idea. So when I was a casting director, what was interesting for me is that as they came in and I was standing behind the camera, I would see what they did in the room. How they would succeed in the room and how they would self-sabotage in the room. And it was interesting to me to see somebody that we really liked and in a producer session and we wanted to book, they just self-destructed by either talking too much or coming in and going, hey, how are you today? My cat died. The room would be completely silent.
And they're there for a funny scene.
Okay. And there's always one advertising woman who'd go, and the energy would just, I'm ready now, let's go.
So you saw that actors really needed help. They may have talent, but going into that room to audition is a whole different thing.
Oh yeah, it's a whole different thing.
So
they know that too.
So you decide.
It's an uncomfortable thing in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
You have to come in feeling comfortable with yourself and what character you're playing, so you have to kind of relax into it.
And it's like a one-time deal, one shot you're getting in front of the customer. So I was going to get to this a little later, but this is a good place to ask you. With all this new technology, what do you think of the way casting has changed now? We're doing, here at Argentum we shoot a ton of online casting, that then the link is sent to file. We still say on tape, there's no tape, but and then the link is sent out. An actor has to prepare differently for that, right? Or
yes,
not?
an actor should be. What's the question? How should an actor prepare? That's a big
because
question.
they're walking into a place like our place to film their
something.
lines.
They need.
There's no casting director there. There's nobody there giving.
There's good news and bad news about all of that. I've been my teaching in my studio from day one because I was a casting director. I learned to teach behind the camera.
Okay.
So I was like one of the first acting coaches to have a camera in the studio from day one. And I use it especially in my audition classes because it's so important to be able to see and understand and make yourself feel comfortable when you walk in there because there's a camera there, but it's supposed to be the fly on the wall as you're talking to the reader who's the other person in the scene. So there has to be a comfortability factor going on there with the actor, number one. And it's really important to
How important is the reader?
The reader is not as important. It's the job of the actor to create the relationship. Hopefully the reader just reads the lines. They should not be too loud when reading the lines.
Okay.
They should cut their voice in half but still be vocal enough so the person on the other hand can read it. But those casting directors already know the dialogue. But it shouldn't be like, it shouldn't be any louder than the other person is. And the actor has to be fully prepared and ready. And the good thing about putting people on tape is that actors really get to be more relaxed in the room to be able to give their best performance. And so that's a definite plus. The bad thing is that if for some reason what you think doesn't really work so well, it's there. It's not like you go on an audition and you do a bad audition and then you go, they won't remember about it. But they've got it, they're seeing it. So it's really important to make sure that you prepare when you're putting yourself on camera. It's not like putting up a scene in class. It's a different energy and it's a different, you're putting yourself out there. But the answer to your question is that it is the way it's going to become.
Or
it's happening, yes.
It's happening, yes.
I've been teaching an audition technique class for 10 years. I've always used a camera. And I would say to my people, every year, more and more people are using cameras. And they would go, oh, I went to an audition, there was a camera. Now, most people have cameras. So you need to be able to be comfortable and understand to make the relationship stronger so the camera doesn't become part of it.
The quality of the audition has to be good. Technically.
Yes.
The picture, the sound, the light.
Absolutely. I think casting directors are becoming much more sophisticated. The iPhone, putting it on the iPhone or whatever it's not, I know some of it looks good. I think it's important to make sure, especially if you're giving a good performance, to make sure that you look good, that you don't look too good, that you're not too made up, that it looks very natural in what you're doing.
Yeah,
women should have to be very careful about how much makeup they're going to put on and everything else.
We see actors doing their own auditions, and the technology is so bad that it gets in the way of their audition. you don't feel like listening to it or watching it when the sound's not good or the picture's not good.
The sound is the biggest
It's the
problem,
biggest
they
problem.
say, yes.
Okay, so now you open your acting studio in Los Angeles.
Yes.
And you're more known as a comedy coach, right?
No, I'm actually, I would honestly say that I have a career like an actor would, who does a lot of comedy, and those casting
But they
directors
can
and
do
those,
other stuff.
they know them, but then they don't know the
Sure.
other side of them. So I actually started, my studio was open in drama. That's my, where comedy comes from drama. So that's my roots. That's where I is doing drama, and that's most of my classes that I teach at the studio. But at some point, what happened is that in my classes when I first began, I would do a main scene, and then I would do what's called a quick bit, which is kind of famous within my studio, which is a small scene. I would throw you outside, you have 7 minutes, and usually were comedies. And it was at that point that I realized how comedy, and how much they like doing it, but how hard it was to actually do comedy. So I would do both of those things, until at one point I decided that I was going to write a book about it. Because I thought that what I was working on and the technique that I was doing was working. And most importantly, actually, the 8 characters of comedy came out of my students, because I could see that certain roles did not necessarily work for certain actors. If an actor was more vulnerable and optimistic and had a positive disposition, that he just that gave him a natural sense about himself, then it was harder for him to play someone who was a little more cynical and pessimistic and mean-spirited, and vice versa.
Not that they can't do it, it's just harder.
Yes.
Go with what you
Yes.
are comfortable with and who you are.
Yes, it's and the 8 characters of comedy are like that. It's what you organically gravitate towards. But it's important to understand that comedy is so separate from anything else. Sitcoms are so separate from drama. They're 2 different things. Even though what they share in common is that you've got to be a good actor. You have to have good, strong acting foundation. It's Tony Regler, who works at the studio, says, the acting foundation is the cake. The comedy is the frosting on the cake. And you know what you can do with frosting. So that's kind of the idea behind that. But as a teacher, I segued into comedy real strong, got really known for it, but I kept going with my auditioning.
And you teach an audition technique.
Yes, I teach 3 audition technique classes.
Imperative for an actor to take audition technique classes.
Yes, after you do your acting foundation scene study work.
Scene study work, the audition classes.
Yes, then you got to do something along those lines.
How have you seen, the business is changing now with everything being digital and people making their own projects and doing independent film. The financial threshold to get into making a project is much lower than when we were in film school.
Yes.
Okay, once you got your equipment, it doesn't really cost you monetarily. It's time and effort. What do you think of actors doing their own projects as opposed
Self-producing?
Yeah.
I think you have to self-produce.
as opposed to just waiting for that audition.
No. You have to self-produce, and in whatever vein you have to self-produce, whether it's a
web
theater
series
piece or a web series or whatever. I think it's important to be able to do that, especially now because everything is so online and available for people to see. So it's really a great opportunity for actors to get themselves out there and seen. Now, many other actors are doing that, but I really think that it's important to do that. But the thing about that is that I'll give you an example. I had a casting director call me during pilot season. I have a lot of casting directors call me and say, hey, I'm working on this sitcom pilot. Do you have a student who might be right? Okay.
So they do call acting teachers and coaches.
Well, I guess, because of the
You
8
have a
characters of
relationship with
comedy,
all
I have a
people,
relationship with certain casting
So
directors.
they got a
who
pilot they're doing or something
Yeah.
they're doing and they go, do you?
Exactly. So
Wow.
do I have somebody? And I did. I had somebody great, and I gave them their name and number, and all of a sudden I hear, I was like, oh, what are they doing? They're looking them up online. Well, this particular actor had some older video that came up online that was not good.
Oh.
So the clause of doing your self-producing and then putting it up online is, I do believe that you have to have quality, that it has to be
It lives
good
there forever.
because it lives there. Now, I know the actor has grown. Every actor grows.
Yeah.
I said, I told him to take that down. It just wasn't. It wasn't necessarily where he is now, and that's what's important. If you can continue to self-produce because you get better and better as an actor if you're training. So you hope that what you do will be seen as you grow. But think about this: is that I think it's important to have somebody that you respect, whether it's a teacher, a friend, someone like yourself, and you say, "What do you think of that?"
Be honest.
Be honest.
And be ready to get an honest answer.
Yes. I think it looks really good. I think it's a little weak on you on that. So so you go, okay. I mean, an actor came into me the other day and showed me they were really beautifully produced. I was like, wow, this is so cool. And I said, you know what? Do you see where you could do better here and make yourself shine? And he said, I totally see that, talking to you and watching it now. I said, I don't know what it is. He says, I can do it over. It's cool. I can do it over. It's a great scene for you. It's a great character for you. But if you're going to showcase that, you need to, as the scene's going on, oh, she's not bad. You need to go to that next level and go, wow, this guy's good.
You just mentioned, what's your opinion on showcases? On actors doing, in an acting school. Your acting school, do you put up showcases?
Yes, sometimes we do.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Actors making reels. Reels are important for actors to have, right?
Yes. Once again,
optimal length. How long should a reel be before?
No more. Well, if you actually have a reel.
Yeah, if you actually have a reel.
I'm not having actual work. Okay, it should be no longer than 3 minutes.
Okay.
But if you don't, if it's just made up scenes, you need to be shorter.
Okay.
I think that you need to be shorter. I think less is best. Your best work forward is better. Let them say, I like it. Do you have anything else? And then if you feel like, I'll show them this. Or I just think it's better than showing too much.
Okay.
Actors like to show everything that they can do.
Absolutely.
I mean, I totally understand that. They're creative. I want to show you. You know, I get it.
But less is more.
It is.
Okay. For an actor, and I want to get to your app that you have, but for an actor, they've got the training, they've got the headshots, they've got their actors access, they've got all that.
Good.
It's tough in between auditions, waiting for auditions, waiting for a job. What do you advise actors to do to stay sharp, to stay motivated, to stay positive?
Yeah,
about
you know,
things?
it's interesting, and I'll want to speak for acting coaches. When you said they got their headshots, they got their acts, they got their training.
The training never stops.
The training never stops.
But none of it
Yes.
stops. Even headshots
Because
change.
you constantly challenge yourself to always be the best that you can be.
Keep doing classes.
But I'm also a complete believer is when luck is when opportunity meets preparation. So your job in orchestrating and creating that luck for yourself is to keep preparing and doing whatever you need to do. And you sometimes have to be inventive in doing it. And it's easy to sit back and procrastinate, you know. Procrastination is the grave in which opportunity is buried in.
Okay.
So, you know, and that's something easy that we all do. We all procrastinate
Easy.
certain things.
Yeah.
I have a bed of flowers that really need to be ripped out and changed, okay? So, but when it comes to your career, the priority is your career, and you need to go, no, I can't sit back. What do I need to do? How can I keep creating the momentum?
What stuff can they do to keep the momentum going? Because I hear actors go, oh, I got an agent, and they think they don't have to
No,
do
it's
any
just the
work
beginning.
anymore.
It's just a letterhead.
They still have to work
yes,
hard.
they have, and I think that
self-promote.
Well, I think trying to get there's so many opportunities. Unlike when I was an agent back in the old days, there was an opportunity. It was student films, you know.
That's right.
You know, and I still believe in that we weren't as enlightened as student filmmakers now
Exactly.
about working with actors.
I agree.
You know, back then. So there was just student films, and now there's so much that sometimes I think it can be overwhelming. It's like you could do this, you could do this, you could do this. What you need to do is be very clear and focused about your want. You know, I talk about the want in the scene, what an actor wants from the other character. It's very important that you, as an actor, have a very specific want each month, each day, each week, each year, and that it's very clearly reinforced and gone over. And it's really lonely out there. There are other actors who are in the same boat you are. You know, one of the things I talk about in my book, Scottsy's Guide to Making in Hollywood, is that I talked about a CAG, a call to action group, which you merge with other actors and you get together and you be a support group for each other. And not a whiny, crying necessarily, but like, what can we do? What can you do? I know you can't see yourself, so I'm going to sit back and go, I think you should try to do this. It's really important to have somebody else give you input. It's lonely out there as an actor.
Yeah.
You really need input.
And okay, so now we get to, I think you're the only acting coach I know, and there may be others, but the only one I know who has an app.
Well, yes, I'm
Okay,
certainly the
now,
first acting coach.
I don't know, I'm not an actor,
Right.
and I don't know how an app would benefit, because it's more of a one-on-one, but your app's very popular. I hear other people talking about it.
Yes, it's become very popular.
Explain
Thank you.
to us, what do you do as an acting coach with an app? What's the actor getting on that app?
Well, first of all, the app is called Actor Audition app. It's for, right now it's just for iPhone and iPad.
And we'll put all this up when we put the interview. We'll put
Great,
the
thank
website
you.
and
That'd be
the
terrific.
link to it and all that.
My students would make excuses not to do their script analysis work. I have a script analysis called WoFrame. And WoFrame, it's been 15 years working with actors. It's an acronym that I put together different various acting techniques. And so when you have your sides, you can quickly go down WoFrame and work on your material.
What does WoFrame stand for?
Want, obstacle, feeling, relationship, as if, intention.
Sorry, I
before.
asked.
I know, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I asked.
Well, when an actor has a script,
Yeah.
an actor has to actually look into the character, and when he works on the character,
break down that
break
script.
down that script. The
The
worst thing an
character.
actor can do is take the script and start reading the lines out loud.
Yeah.
They need to know what the character wants in the scene. They need to know what the obstacles to getting that want. So what
And this is all stuff you teach.
yeah.
But they forget when they leave.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay, I'm getting it now.
People have been using it for years, so I thought that because I would hear actors say, "Oh, I didn't have my WoFrame sheet or something like that, or I didn't have my book with me." It's like, I should put it on an app. Then you have no excuse.
Yeah, they've always got their phone with
Yes,
them.
exactly. You'll
Yeah.
have no excuse, and so that's what I did. I put it on an app.
Yeah, let me see.
And I'm very proud of it. It took a long time to do. It's not easy to do an app. Can you see it? Actor
Yeah, we'll put
Audition
up
app.
this actor audition app.
Yes, and so what it does, it has, so there's the WoFrame, there's the various WoFraming. Oops.
So this is for them to just stay current and
Here,
learn.
here's the various different WoFraming that you can do. So yes, it has tongue twisters, it has audition tips, it has a practice script, it has an intentions list, which is really cool, and it also, I just added a bonus to it that has, you can sync your auditions to your iCal on your phone. So your calendar and your auditions, you put all your information about your auditions and it'll come up. So that's really, a lot of people like that.
And what's the feedback been on the app?
It's been very good so far. It's been very good.
Actors are liking it.
Yes, you know, I have to tell you something, and right now I'm writing the second edition of this, and we can talk about that in a second, but I have to tell you that I feel like work begets work, and I feel like it's really important for actors to just be working at something all the time. I do many different things towards the career of an acting
Sure.
coach, and like developing an app and doing stuff like that. I didn't have time to do it, but I worked on it as much as I can for the time that I
Now,
had
would
to do it.
would-
And actors need to do that.
Would this app benefit an actor who's not one of your students?
Say that again?
Would this app still benefit an actor who's not one of your students or hasn't taken your classes and your
Right,
philosophy
right.
and take on acting?
Right.
And,
You mean like a layman, like a
yeah,
salesman?
no,
or
another
something?
actor who's never come to your
Oh, that's
class.
easy. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We just had somebody come in yesterday to interview, and they said they had the app already. That's an actor I didn't know.
Okay.
that- yeah.
So there's stuff in there that's not just related to.
Oh no.
They have to be familiar with.
Everybody
your
understands
technique.
the
Okay,
idea
they
of what
do.
is it that
Okay.
you want in the scene, what is
And,
the obstacle. Yeah, there are various different acting techniques through WoFrame. But it
Okay.
has tongue twisters, it has ways to prepare for your audition,
Yeah,
everything you need.
I mean, you know, for actors, you were showing me this before we started this interview, and I was looking at it. I think it's full of great information. It's
Oh, thank you.
invaluable, and I'm going to say this, man. I think you priced it low at $9 or $10
Yeah,
or something.
$9.99.
I think it's better than the 2 cups of Starbucks coffee you're going to waste your money on.
That's it.
This
Or
app will go a
you
long
would
way.
pay more for a book.
Or you'll pay more
You
for
would
a
never
book.
even pay $9.99.
And you have
yes.
this very valuable, very innovative, and very,
Thank you.
very, very cool.
Thank you.
Learning from feedback, you have ideas of what you want to add to it, or what.
On the app?
on the app?
Yeah, I'm already going to be adding stuff too. So anyone who's paid $9.99 is going to get a free bonus.
Free updates
Yeah, you get
on
the free
it
up.
and all
Yes,
that.
yeah. We just
Very
did the
cool.
free upgrade.
Okay, now tell me about the book. We got the 8 characters of
Okay,
comedy.
the
and
8
now
characters
what
of
we-
comedy.
That's changed.
Yeah,
Are we
yes.
making it 6 or we making it
No. It's the 8 characters of comedy, though funny that you should say that. There are some people out there who are trying to write their own book called The 10 Characters of
10?
Comedy.
Oh, seriously?
Yes.
No.
Yes, as shameless as that is, I swear to God. It's crazy. But the book came out of my work with my students and the need for actors, I believe, to learn about comedy, which is a totally different thing than you would learn in any formal training or any scene study class. Learning how to do sitcoms, multi-camera sitcoms, which are like The Big Bang Theory or Two and a Half Men, or single-camera comedies like Modern Family. Or
Sitcoms have made a huge comeback.
huge. The interesting part, I must tell you, that when this book came out in 2005, the 8 Characters Guide to Sitcom Acting, right? Sitcom was dead.
It was dead, yeah.
Yes. Do you imagine coming out with a book on how to do sitcom acting and there was no sitcoms?
Yeah.
The good news is that you stay in the game long enough, you know.
It comes back.
Yeah.
It's like fashion.
Actually-
Keep your clothes. They're coming back.
What happened to it was that all of a sudden, you know, it always did very well, and then at one point it spiked big time. It was selling 50, 60. What is that about? I found out that colleges have been using it as a textbook. So now I think there's over 100 colleges and universities who use the book as a textbook
In acting class.
in acting class.
Theater class.
And the other thing is that the writers got a hold of it. And when there was no comedy on television, they would write to me and go, I'm writing my first spec script and I really like your book. And then the next year they go, oh, I got a writer as a staff job on a show. And the next year I'm a co-executive producer, and now they're running shows. And I just really feel blessed that I was able to give a book out that primarily for actors that would help writers. And what the book does for writers is the 8 characters of comedy, is being able to break down what I did with that, which is, break down different various characters as an archetype.
Why do you think the sitcoms went away for a while, and why do you think they're back?
It's just secular. It
in the
happens.
same-
It happened in the late 60s, after we had all those great fantastical kind of shows like Bewitched and The Munsters and, all those kind of fun
And in
shows.
the 80s and 80s, we had an unbelievable.
Well,
sitcom.
actually, the first hit of that was All in the Family
Oh, yes.
and Mary Tyler Moore. But Norman Lear brought it back by doing all those Stanford and Son, Maude, and all those terrific shows. And then it died again in the late 70s, and it was the Cosby Show
that brought it
and
back.
Roseanne. I'm going to throw Roseanne in there. That kind of brought it back in. And then after Will and Grace and Friends and Seinfeld and Sex and the City went off the air, there was a time of trouble for the sitcom during the mid 2004, 2005, 2006. But I actually have to tell you that I firmly believe that Modern Family brought it back.
I agree.
I think Modern
Yeah.
Family went, oh, that's funny. Oh, wow. Comedy. And it just kind of started to bloom again. Modern Family, and I have to put, this probably means nothing to some of your viewers, but a shout out to Chuck Lorre. Chuck Lorre needs no shout outs. He's the
Exactly.
king of. But the fact is, he had 2.5 Men going
Yes,
all
he
the
did.
time. That
He did.
all those shows came and went during that time period, and it's still on the air. And he just produced. He has like 4 or 5 shows on the air.
In closing over here, advice to actors, which is what we've been talking about, but to sum it up, if somebody's getting into business,
I
they've
would
been
say.
struggling for a few years.
Well, it's getting in the business struggling. What do you want to talk? Which one?
Getting in. Let's say.
If you're brand new, the number one thing you need to do is that you need to study, and then you need to start to get connected to managers and agents, especially the new ones, so they can kind of help you groom you. And then you just need to start to get your reel. Then you need to start putting things on tape. You need to get your
pictures.
exactly pictures and everything else. And then that process is a continual process. You have to. This is what I want to say, and this is really important. I do believe in this. You've got to be a lifer. You've got to be a lifer, and you've got to be very clear about what your want is every day, every week, every month, every year regarding your training. And you need to make sure that you create a momentum that continues, because once you drop off the momentum, it's going to be hard to pick it back up. And that's what happens a lot. create a momentum, because within that momentum is going to be riches. Stuff comes out. It does happen.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that it happens. And the reason I firmly believe that, in all honesty, is because I guess I can say now I'm old enough that I've seen it for the last 30 years. I've seen it. I've seen how people's
You have a
careers.
passion for what you're doing.
I do.
Yeah.
Why? Do I
No,
talk
but
passionately?
even actors have a
Oh,
passion for it.
absolutely.
You can see why you love teaching.
Mhm.
You love this. I mean, you love talking about it. It's like, look, I love talking about pictures. I love talking about headshots.
I love actors. I really do. I really like actors, and I like actors who are willing to learn, are willing to grow. That's the kind of actor. Yes, that's the actor I like.
Cool.
So, thank you.
Thank you so much, man. Good luck with the book. And guys, this app is invaluable. Absolutely invaluable.
Thank you.
I think it's a great thing. These kids are on their phone all the time anyway. You know, it might as well be on the app.
Yeah, it might as well be learning